All right, ready to dive in. You want to be a better leader, right?
Absolutely.
We're taking excerpts from this book
Empowering leadership.
by Douglas L. Jones. See if we can unlock some potential.
Yeah, unlock yours and your teams.
Exactly. So much good stuff in here.
It's really fascinating stuff. Jones doesn't just offer kind of, surface level advice.
Right.
He digs into the why behind employee behavior.
Okay, I like
And he
it.
starts with 5 basic human needs that he says we all share.
5 basic needs.
Yeah.
All right, I'm intrigued.
So,
I think it's easy to get so caught up in like deadlines and deliverables and all that
for sure.
that we forget about the human beings behind the job titles.
Absolutely.
So what's the first need that he kind of dives into?
Well, so the foundation is security and survival.
Okay.
And it seems obvious, but when you really think about it, employees aren't just showing up for a paycheck.
Right. They're trying to make a living.
They're working to put food on the table, keep a roof over their heads, peace of mind, secure their future. It runs deep.
Totally. And it makes me think it's about more than just job security, too.
Yeah.
It's got to be about cultivating an environment where people feel safe and supported.
Absolutely.
Not just, like physically,
Right.
but emotionally and psychologically, too.
Yeah. And, imagine working in a place where you're terrified to speak up, to share an idea for fear of being shut down or ridiculed.
Yeah.
I mean, that just crushes creativity and innovation.
Yeah, you don't feel safe.
So that sense of psychological safety is just as vital as a steady paycheck.
It's huge. It's a huge part of it.
Huge.
So how can we, as leaders, make sure that our team members feel secure in all those ways?
That's the question, isn't it?
Because it can't be as simple as just saying, like, don't worry, your job is safe, right?
Right. Yeah. It's more about demonstrating a genuine interest in their well-being, not just their output.
Okay.
So something as small as noticing when someone seems stressed and asking, hey, are you okay?
Oh, wow.
Can go a long way. It shows you see them as a person, not just a cog in the machine.
So it's about fostering that culture of empathy and respect where people feel comfortable bringing their whole selves to work.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so we've covered security, that need for basic security.
Right.
What's the next thing on the list?
So the need to achieve, accomplish, and succeed,
Yeah.
which we all crave, right?
For sure.
But Jones goes a little deeper here. He differentiates between praise, which can often feel empty, and genuine recognition rooted in specific achievements.
Okay, that's interesting. Can you give me an example of what that looks like in practice?
Yeah, so imagine you have a team member who consistently puts in the effort,
Okay.
but maybe doesn't always hit the mark.
Right.
Instead of just saying like, good try, or,
Nice effort.
nice effort. You could say something like, I really appreciate how you dug into that problem, even though it didn't pan out as expected. Your persistence is valuable to this team.
Okay.
So it shows you're paying attention to their process, not just the outcome.
It's acknowledging the effort and the learning process, even when,
Yeah,
even in the face of setbacks, right?
exactly.
Which I think that's a really valuable takeaway because I think it's easy to fall into that trap of only celebrating the big wins.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah. And when you celebrate the effort, you encourage people to keep pushing, to keep innovating, even when things get tough.
Love it. This is all connecting in a really powerful way.
Good stuff, right?
Now, he also talks about this need for freedom of choice,
Okay.
which, I'm not going to lie, this one feels a little tricky in a work environment, right?
Yeah, it can be.
Like, how much freedom can you really give? You still need people to follow directions and get things done.
Right. You do. It's not about relinquishing control.
Okay.
It's about empowering your team by offering choices within a structured framework.
Okay.
So, for example, instead of saying, do this,
Right.
you might say, how do you think we should approach this?
Oh.
Or, of these options, which one do you think would be most effective and why?
That's such a subtle shift in language,
It is.
but it's a huge shift in impact
It is.
because you're showing them that you trust their judgment
Exactly.
and that you value their input,
Absolutely.
which again can be so motivating.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got security,
Yeah.
we've got achievement, we've got freedom. What's next?
It's that need to belong, right? And to feel valued.
Oh, I love that you brought that up
Yeah.
because, it's so easy to get, I think, so caught up in, individual performance.
Right.
But the truth is, feeling like you're a valued part of a team is incredibly motivating.
It is.
Like to me, that's everything.
Yeah.
So how does Jones suggest we actually foster that feeling
Oh.
beyond just like, being nice to our coworkers, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's about creating a culture where people feel seen and heard.
Okay.
where their contributions are acknowledged and appreciated. And it goes beyond,
So it's not enough to just throw a pizza party every once in a while.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It's about celebrating individual accomplishments
Yeah.
while also emphasizing the collective effort.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing people's unique talents and perspectives and, creating opportunities for them to use those talents to contribute to the team's success.
So it's about creating a space where everyone feels like they have a seat at the table,
Yes.
where their voice matters.
Absolutely.
And that,
Yeah.
that sense of belonging, that feeling of being a valued part of something larger than yourself,
Yeah.
that to me is,
That's the good stuff.
that's what fuels true motivation and commitment.
For sure.
Okay. This is all making so much sense.
Good.
We've got security, we've got achievement, we've got freedom,
Right.
we've got this sense of belonging.
Belonging.
What's the final ingredient?
Okay, so this one might surprise you.
Okay.
Jones talks about the importance of, are you ready for this? Fun.
Wait, fun at work.
Fun at work.
Are you telling me we shouldn't be taking things so seriously?
Not necessarily. It's not about, turning the office into a circus.
Oh, okay.
It's about creating an environment where a little laughter is welcome, where people feel comfortable being themselves, and where they can find those little moments of joy and connection amidst the everyday flow of work, right?
Okay, I'm starting to see how this ties into everything else we've been talking about.
Yeah.
It's about, again, creating that workplace
Yeah.
where people don't feel like they have to choose between being themselves and being professional,
Totally.
right? Like it's about fostering that sense of psychological safety we talked about earlier.
Yes, exactly. And when people feel safe and respected,
Yeah.
when they feel like they belong and their work is meaningful, they're more likely to be engaged, productive,
Right.
and yes, even have a little fun along the way.
It's like that feeling of, I want to be here.
Yeah.
I want to contribute,
I'm sure.
Now, I love this. We've spent a lot of time unpacking these 5 needs.
Right.
But how do we actually put this knowledge into practice?
That's the question, right?
Because knowing what to do
Oh.
and actually doing it, those are 2 different things.
They are 2 very different things. Understanding these needs is just the foundation.
Okay.
So in the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we're going to explore the specific empowerment skills that Jones outlines.
Yeah.
The actual tactical things you can do
You made the tactics.
to make this more than just a theoretical conversation.
I'm ready. Let's get tactical.
Welcome back.
So we've got this blueprint, right, for building this empowered team.
We do.
But now comes the real work,
Yeah,
putting it into action.
absolutely. Putting it into practice.
So this is where those 6
Empowerment skills?
empowerment skills that Jones talks about
That's it.
come in.
Yeah. These are the tools that bring all those needs to life
Okay, give them to me.
in your day-to-day leadership. So,
Hit me.
number 1,
Okay.
think before you speak.
I feel like that's good life advice in general.
It's good advice for everything.
But in the context of leadership, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, so Jones points out it's not just about choosing your words carefully, although that's certainly part of it.
Right.
It's about making a conscious shift from focusing on what you want to say to deeply listening to the person in front of you.
It's about quieting that internal monologue, right? And really tuning in to what they're saying and what they might not be saying.
Yes, exactly. It's about using that think time to really absorb their message and try to understand their perspective,
Yeah.
not just formulate your
Oh,
response.
no, I like that because it's so easy to get, I do this,
I'll do it.
you get caught up in thinking about what you're going to say next
Right.
that you miss. Like what they're actually, you just miss it.
And the irony
So
is
you're not really listening.
you're not really listening, which is why that think before you speak is the foundation for all the other skills.
Okay.
Because it allows you to respond in a way that's thoughtful and empathetic, and that builds trust. It strengthens those relationships.
It's huge. Okay, so think before you speak is number 1.
Number 1,
What's next?
acknowledge their frustrations. And this one's big in a work environment because, let's face it,
Oh, there's going to be frustration.
frustrations are inevitable, so.
I will admit my instinct is sometimes to shy away from that a little bit,
Yeah.
like smooth things over. It's fine. It's fine.
Exactly. Keep it moving.
Right. Like let's just,
Yeah.
but that doesn't really address the root of the problem.
It doesn't, and Jones would argue that just that acknowledging
Yeah.
of someone's frustration, even if you don't agree with it,
Right.
or even if you don't have an immediate solution,
Right.
can be so powerful.
Because it makes them feel heard.
Yes.
right? Like it's that, again, it goes back to that
It's that validation.
psychological safety.
Exactly.
Okay.
Where they feel safe to express those concerns without feeling judged or dismissed.
Love it. Okay, what's next?
So this one kind of builds directly on the other two. It's conflict resolution.
Ooh, that feels like a big one
It's a biggie.
because that's just part of life, right? Especially in a work setting. He's got all these different personalities, communication styles, working towards a common goal. But,
Sure.
so how do we as leaders navigate that constructively?
Well, so Jones, he's big on this win-win approach,
Yep.
which again starts with listening.
Okay.
He says you can say something like, help me understand what's happening here, and then really listen without interruption, without judgment, just trying to understand all sides of the situation.
So it's about creating that neutral space.
Yes.
Where everyone involved feels heard, feels respected, which then allows you to move towards a solution collaboratively.
Yes, exactly. He says, once you've heard everybody out, then ask, how can we work together to solve this?
I love that.
Yeah, that collaborative approach.
Because when people feel like they're part of the solution, they're more likely to be invested in its success.
100%.
Right. It's not my problem, it's our problem.
Exactly.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, so this one is all about clear communication,
Okay.
clarifying perceptions.
Oh, because we've all been in those situations where it's like a simple
Oh
miscommunication
my God.
turns into this huge headache.
The worst.
Right. And it's like, how do we even get here?
Exactly. And Jones reminds us that we all perceive the world through our own lenses.
Right. We all have our own stuff.
Our own experiences, our own beliefs, our
The-
values.
Our own baggage.
Or baggage, exactly. So what seems crystal clear to you might be completely open to interpretation to someone else.
Oh, 100%. And that's why it's so important, I think. I'm hearing this loud and clear. It's not enough to just communicate.
Right.
We have to communicate
Sure.
clearly
Clearly.
and make sure that it's landing as intended.
Yes, exactly. You got to close that feedback loop.
Okay.
Ask those clarifying questions.
Like what? Give me an example.
Like, just to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Can you tell me in your own words what you heard?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
It's so simple, but it's so powerful.
it is.
Because it, again, saves everyone time, energy, frustration in the long run.
Absolutely. And speaking of building strong relationships,
Okay.
that's what this next skill is all about.
Okay.
Building trust.
Ooh, that feels like a big one.
It is a big one because it's the foundation of any successful team. But it can be, as you know, so easily broken.
So easily broken. So how do we cultivate it? How do we cultivate an environment of trust?
Well, Jones reminds us that trust is a feeling.
Okay.
It's not just a checkbox on a performance review.
Okay.
It takes time.
Right.
It takes consistency. And it takes a willingness to be vulnerable.
Ooh, I like that vulnerability piece.
Yeah, to admit when we don't have all the answers, to own up to our mistakes.
Because we're all human, right? And I think there's so much power in that,
There is.
in that authenticity, and that,
Yeah, it shows you're human.
integrity. Right?
It does, yeah. And it creates a safe space for others to do the same.
Yes, love it.
And it's about trusting your team,
Okay.
giving them the autonomy to do their jobs without, micromanaging their every move.
Right, because when people feel trusted, they're more likely to rise to the occasion.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay.
All right, you ready for the final one?
Give it to me. Last one.
This one's my favorite. Catching them doing some good stuff.
Okay. That sounds a lot more enjoyable than catching them doing something wrong.
It really is, and it's so simple and yet so effective.
Okay.
Because, Jones points out, as human beings,
Yeah?
we have this negativity bias.
We do. We focus on the negative.
Yeah, we're wired to focus on what's wrong,
Oh, yeah.
to spot the mistakes, to dwell on the negative,
It's like our brains are hardwired to be critics.
They are. They totally are. And so
It's the worst.
it's the worst. So this skill is about consciously shifting that focus, about making that conscious choice to look for the good,
Okay.
to acknowledge the positive, to celebrate the successes, big and small.
So it's about actively looking for those moments to give praise, to give recognition, to show appreciation, which we've talked about, is
Exactly.
incredibly motivating.
Yeah. Incredibly motivating.
It's huge.
And it creates this culture of appreciation.
Right, where people feel valued,
Yes.
seen, recognized for their contribution.
That's what it's all about.
I love it. This has been amazing, so insightful. I feel like, you've given us so much to think about.
Well, good. I hope so.
And more importantly, to actually put into practice, which
That's the goal, right?
is the goal, because it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another thing to actually embody it.
Exactly. And I think, empowering leadership isn't about memorizing a list of skills.
Right.
It's about embodying these principles in everything you do.
It's about showing up as our best selves, as leaders and as human beings,
Hmm.
and creating a workplace where everyone feels valued and respected and empowered to do their best work.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to our listeners, we want to leave you with this. As you reflect on what we've talked about today, think about a leader you've admired, someone who truly empowered you.
Good question.
What qualities did they embody? How do they
Yeah.
make you feel?
Because by understanding what makes a great leader, you can start to cultivate those qualities in yourself.
This has been an awesome deep dive into empowering leadership. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.